Artemis.
Let me tell you a tale about the stars. Many constellations fill the night sky. I know them all, for I am Artemis, and the night is my guide. I am found in the wilds, forever leading the hunts under the light of Selene, the bright moon. I am daughter of the Titan goddess Leto and Zeus, the king of the Olympians. My brother Apollo, my twin, he may revel in the day with music and poetry, but prey is best caught in the darkness. And so, my companions, the followers of Artemis, the hunters that join beside me, are all women. I am the goddess of maidens. From virginity to childbirth, I am a protector of women. I am one of the few virginal goddesses in my divine family. But this is the tale of one of my followers, and the fate that led her to be captured in the stars. This is the story of Callisto. Callisto was a loyal follower of mine, sworn to my hunt, daughter of King Lycaon of Arcadia. Her mortal beauty matched that of any nymph, and beauty is a dangerous thing. It can lead one down a path that leads to ruin. Callisto, as a huntress under my protection, took a vow of chastity, as all the others must do. One I thought she would never break, but I did not know then what I know now. Callisto was a bright soul, sweet and warm, shy in all but the hunt. She was fierce when tracking beasts through the brush, with eyes that could spot the smallest hint of a trail, a branch or twig snapped out of place, and it was assured that we would never lose our prey with Callisto at the hunt. But her bright smiles and silken hair caught the attention of other immortals, unbeknownst to me. One ill-fated night, when Zeus in the form of an eagle was flying leisurely overhead, he saw us burst through the forest in the middle of a chase. The mountain lion we were hunting had led us straight into his path, and when Zeus sees beauty, often tales tend to start with Zeus and his wiles, do they not? But you would never believe the trick he pulled. A week or so after that, Callisto began to change, not in stature or physical shape, but in behavior. She would look at me, strangely, far differently than she ever had before, softer, warmer, intimate in a way I did not understand. And she would blush. With my godly senses, I could feel her pulse rush when I drew near, and her gaze would fall from my eyes to my lips. My suspicions had grown in the weeks that followed, but by that time, so too did her physical body. After a particularly strenuous hunt, we dropped off the buck for skinning. My huntresses took to the lake and streams to bathe. Callisto, who had been absent for some days, helped prepare the deer. She then joined us to wash the blood from her hands. But it all came to pieces once her shawl and tunic were removed, for her belly had grown. I called out for silence, shocking my huntresses from their giggled splashing. All heads turned to me, but I kept my eyes fixed on Callisto. And I listened, focusing my godly powers. I heard her heart racing like a drum, but then I heard another heartbeat, tiny and small. Callisto was pregnant, and I saw red. I seized her arm roughly. I was hurt and betrayed that one of my own would break their vow. I have one ask of my people, one simple oath: chastity. To not lose yourself in the lust of another. How can you serve one cause when you are chained to the love of a child? It is impossible to do. For the pain that comes with lust. Lust is a curse we fight off, for it makes beasts of men and women. It causes the severing and breaking of friends and family. You cannot serve one cause when you split your love. How can you serve balance and nature when all mothers wish to do is fight against it? To fight nature and spare a sick child. To kill over letting that child be hurt. It makes serving nature impossible to do. I asked her, why? Why did she do this? With whom? How could she possibly think to do this to us? All of us. The huntresses were silent but gathered around us, watching the scene. The shock in her eyes morphed into confusion. Then she lowered her head as she turned to the others and confessed what happened that night. She told them of how I had taken her to a quiet meadow, of how I had seduced her and laid with her, how we had broken our vows together. With every word of her declaration, I felt the fires inside me stoke. When she finished her tale, I burst into screams. Her insolence to spout falsehoods to her sisters, to stand there and lie about a goddess, to her very face. I did not see reason, but I saw her boldness as insult. To declare me capable of such vile accusations. And the fires finally burst free from me. My words like lava, I screamed a curse at her. In a silver blast of light, her body began to transform. Her soft skin began to grow heaps of brown fur. Her figure grew in size and became large, with muscles and bulk. Her nails stretched into sharp claws. Her nose elongated into a muzzle, until her face became that of a bear. Her bright eyes remained. The huntresses around me gasped and backed away from poor Callisto, with the thunder of her feet and a crash of the lake waves. She ran into the forest. It was then, a few days later, that Hermes came. He jabbered on about the news on Olympus, the comings and goings and all the rumours at court. He had sent a note from our beloved queen, Hera. She had sent out a missive to our gathering, not usually typical. For often we get called to hunt certain beasts or locate a mortal that the gods had no time to find with all their duties. But Hera did not usually involve herself in such matters. Her orders had been to hunt down a bear that she longed for the skin of. But she did not want any bear skin. No, she had written a description, and the description matched poor Callisto. With Hermes going on about the fury Hera had been in as of late, I finally put all the pieces together. Hera had sent this order to hunt and kill Callisto, because Callisto was pregnant with her husband's child. Her husband, my father, the king of Olympus. Zeus himself. He had been the one to seduce her. But why did Callisto think I had loved her? That I, the virgin goddess, laid with her that night. He had disguised himself in my image, used my face to lure my huntress into breaking her vow. Godly powers do not come without a price, for our emotions are of divine strength, more than any mortal could handle. Sometimes it is misplaced. In my own fury, I did what I thought was right. I gave the justice I thought was deserved. But I had punished the wrong soul, and what was done could not be undone. I tore up the order from Hera, gathered my huntresses, and recruited Hermes to my aid. Hermes, once he'd heard the full tale, promised to help us find Callisto after he had finished laughing. The fool. But what I did not know was that he'd warned our father of the matter at hand. It took time to find Callisto, but Hermes found her first. And he did as his father decreed. He took the child, her child, to Zeus. He ordered a nymph to nurse and protect him, and sent them again with Hermes. He took them to the child's mortal grandfather, and there he was raised. When I found Callisto, she immediately ran from me. Of course she would be afraid. And what could I do? It was too late to change her back. I went to Zeus himself and begged for her to be changed, for I had not the power to reverse what I'd done. All under Hera's watchful eye. Zeus refused to help her. I knew that Hera knew all about Callisto, but in that moment, I felt it between them. He knew that she knew of the affair. She knew that he knew she had ordered her death. But this was their game. He would stray, and if it was hidden, she would pretend not to know. And if revealed, she would try to eliminate them, and he would pretend not to know of that. If he admitted to knowing or trying to stop Hera from punishing his paramours, that is admittance to guilt, to loving a mortal more than his divine wife. If that were to happen, who knows what could become of court? This is all that keeps the court afloat. Silly falsehoods and pretenses. This is why I stay away from Olympus. I do not like the lies and games. But this is one I do not interfere with. None of us do. To keep the peace, Zeus cannot transform her back. I left the court with nothing. No plan to make amends. No way to save poor Callisto. The best I could do was keep sending huntresses. Anytime she saw me, she would run back into the wilderness. I let her go, but kept a watchful eye. For decades, it is all I can do. Watch and wait. Protect from a distance. And often do I see her around the wilds of Arcadia, hoping to see her son. The last time she saw him, he was a round-faced child on the cusp of manhood. But this was different. Arcas, her son, was grown. A man for some years now, he grew into a regal and skilled hunter. Strong and broad, with a fierce grip on his spear. Only a hint of fear in his eyes as he saw a bear appear before him. But Callisto had not gone to see Arcas. She was wandering idle through a particularly beautiful garden. She had not noticed the broken wall, too bewildered by the flora and fauna. She did not see the man a distance off, but he saw her, for the wall protected a sacred stretch of land, the forbidden precinct of Zeus himself. Arcas, sworn to protect these lands, took his duty to heart and charged the beast. Poor Callisto was not even looking as her son aimed for her back. With my power, I called to Zeus, praying, summoning the king to witness this. With a flash of lightning, he appeared before me, sparks and bolts of light dispersing into the ground with a crackle around his feet. As soon as he saw the scene, he snapped his fingers and the mortals froze. The spear, mere inches from Callisto's flesh. We surveyed the scene together. Arcas, mid-air, lunging with the spear extended, his full weight behind the throw. His face contorted into a war cry. And poor Callisto, her head spun around, eyes full of tears, and witnessing her son and would-be murderer. I looked to Zeus with a hard expression, screaming, "Fix this," with my cold gaze. But I knelt before him and asked, "Surely you can stop this, my king. For no one would deny this act is barbarous and brutal, and on your sacred land. If any god or goddess were to question your interference, I will remind them of the duties of the gods to their lands, and of the abomination that is kinslaying. We cannot allow such a precedent of a child killing their parent. Would you not agree, my king?" I held my breath and averted my gaze to the floor. Oh, it was risky to speak so brazenly. I had let my anger get the better of me and almost outright threatened the king. But Zeus threw his head back and laughed.
"Oh, my daughter, you are right. We cannot allow this act to continue, and since it is on my lands, no one will argue. Clever. I have no choice but to stop this. At last, we can change what was never meant to be."
With that, golden light showered over the two, Arcas and Callisto. Their bodies floated up and became pure energy. Amongst the lights, images flashed. Callisto as a young girl, then a mortal woman, then pregnant, then a small bear, which grew into a big bear. Arcas too, his body flickered in the haze, showing flashes of the boy as a child, then a young man, then one fully grown. But then his image also became a bear, which shifted into a cub. The lights that made up their forms then moved to one another, combining and joining together, and flashes of a mother holding a small child, followed by a small boy grasping his mother's legs, and then a man and an older woman in a tight embrace, until it settled on a large bear holding and hugging a small cub. The lights then shimmered as the cub and mother circled one another, and I heard the sound of laughter echoing all around. With one final golden flash, they faded away, and the air was still. I looked to Zeus,
Mother and son reunited and now shall never part again, eternally wandering in the skies. Look up tonight, my dear Artemis, and they will guide you too. Thank you for aiding me in making this right. I think we should call them Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the Great Bear and the Small Bear. But do not speak like that at court, or the others will start getting ideas. But I will not lecture, for I know you respect the balance of all things. Be well in your hunts, dear one, and look out for them in the skies.
In the darkness of the night, you can see them, together and forever wandering across the night skies. I feel relief every time I see her in the heavens, for Callisto is finally happy and at peace, with her son Arcas shining beside her. In the constellations they live eternally, and the stories of the stars next to them are tales for another time.